Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're going to discuss a verse about Dhruva Maharaj. You've all heard of Dhruva Maharaj? Aho Bhata Mamanatmayam Manda Bhagyasya Pashyata Bhava Chira Pada Mula Gatva Yase Yad Antavad Ahobata Mamanatmayam Manda Bhagyasa Pashyata Bhava Chira Padamulam Gatvya Yasayat Antavad Ahobata Mamanatmayam Manda Bhagyasa Pashyata Bhava Chira Padamulam Gatva Yasayat Antavad Ahobata Mamanatmayam Manda Bhagyasya Pashyata Bhava Chira Padamulam Gatpa Yasayat Antavad Ahobata Mamanatmayam Manda Bhagyasya Pashyata Bhava Chira Padamulam Gatva Yasayat Antavad Ahobata Mamanatmayam Manda Bhagyasya Pashyata Bhava Chira Padamulam Gatva Yasayat Antavad Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshurmilitanena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Saim Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamlan Shri Gurun Vaishnavanascha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagina Raghunathanvitam Tham Sadevam Sadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanitamscha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Ahobata Mamanatmayam Manda Bhagyasa Pashyata Bhava Chida Padamulam Gatva Yasayat Antavad. This verse is being spoken by Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj in this verse is feeling very embarrassed that at one time he had desired a kingdom that would be even more opulent than that of his father, grandfather and great-grandfather. The background is as follows. Dhruva Maharaj, when he was a young boy, he was prevented from sitting on the lap of his father. Being a young boy, he was playing with his father and he was trying to get on his father's lap. But his father was seated next to his stepmother, and his stepmother stopped Dhruva from sitting on the father's lap. She said that you haven't taken your birth from my womb. Therefore, you cannot sit on your father's lap. And this angered Dhruva Maharaj very much. So Dhruva Maharaj went crying to his mother, and he told his mother what had happened. And he asked his mother if there's anybody who could help him. And his mother said, the only person who can really help you, what I've heard, is God. So Dhruva Maharaj asked her where God can be found. And the mother said, I've heard from great sages that God can be found in the forest. So then Dhruva Maharaj was about to go to the forest when he met the great sage Narada Muni. Great sage Narada Muni asked him, what was the cause? Actually, Narada Muni was sent by the Lord to test out Dhruva Maharaj's determination. And Narada Muni told Dhruva Maharaj that you're just a young boy and your mother was just playing with you, your stepmother. Don't take her words seriously. Forget about going to the forest to search for God. Go and play. Dhruva was determined. And he said, if you want to stop me from going to the forest to look for God, then I don't want to have to do anything to deal with you. So Narada Muni, when he saw that Dhruva was determined to find God, then he not only told him where to go, but he also told him how to find God. Narada Muni told him, he gave him the mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. He told him to go to the forest known as Madhuban, and he also told him how to make a form of the Lord based on mud and water, and then to meditate on that form of the Lord. So Dhruva Maharaj actually went to the forest with an ambition. His ambition was, he had two goals. One was to take revenge for the insulting words that his stepmother had given. Second was to teach his stepmother a lesson by getting a kingdom that would be even better than what his father, grandfather, great-grandfather ever had. So Dhruva Maharaj, he went to the forest and he practiced extreme meditation with extreme austerities. Narada Muni actually was very pleased when he saw that Dhruva Maharaj was very determined to find God. So Dhruva Maharaj accepted the advice of his mother Suniti, which was later on confirmed by Narada Muni, and he went to the forest known as Madhuvan. Actually, this forest, Madhuvan, is not far from a Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan. When our devotees come to Vrindavan, they all go to this temple, Madhuvan, also to pay their respects in that temple. So Dhruva Maharaj went to the forest and started practicing extreme austerities. In the first month of the austerity, he ate once every 3 days, fruits and berries. But these are not fruits and berries that you and I eat. These are fruits and berries that you find in the forest that the monkeys eat. And in the second month of the austerity, Dhruva Maharaj started eating once every 6 days, but he was eating only dry grass. Just imagine eating once every 6 days and only dry grass. And the third, if your devotees started eating, with these days with product being so expensive, we had our devotees switch over to this diet, our food bill would go down like anything. And then third month, Dhruva Maharaj was only drinking water, and that too once every 9 days. And the fourth month, Dhruva Maharaj became a master of the breathing exercise, and he was breathing only once every 12 days. In other words, Dhruva Maharaj had become completely fixed in his meditation on the Supreme Lord. And in the fifth month, Dhruva Maharaj, by his meditation, had become so powerful that in the fifth month, he was able to stand only on one leg, like a column stands straight. And his mind was fully fixed on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Actually, Dhruva Maharaj had become so powerful that even by his austerities, that even the demigods were getting scared of him. So Dhruva Maharaj pleased the Supreme Lord by his austerities, and as a result, the Supreme Lord personally came and blessed Dhruva Maharaj. So, sitting on the back of Garuda, the Lord personally descended to give Dhruva Maharaj his darshan. This is the unique relationship between the Lord and the devotee. The devotee tries to serve the Lord, and the Lord also tries to serve the devotee. When Krishna is pleased by a devotion, he comes personally to see his devotee. He comes personally to serve his devotee. He even disguises himself so that he may trick the devotee to take service from him. So Dhruva Maharaj was fully absorbed in meditation, and when he opened his eyes, there he saw the Lord right in front of him. So when Dhruva Maharaj saw the Lord, he actually was surprised, and he wanted to glorify the Lord. But because he was a young child of only 5 years old, he could not really come up with the proper words to glorify the Lord. But the Lord touched Dhruva Maharaj's forehead with his conch shell, and Dhruva Maharaj was inspired with wisdom by which he was able to glorify the Supreme Lord with choicest words. But after he saw the personal form of the Lord, Dhruva Maharaj felt so ecstatic that he began to feel embarrassed that at one time he had expressed a material desire to the Lord. And that material desire was that I want a kingdom which would be even more opulent than that of my great-grandfather. So in this verse that we are reading today, I just gave you a little background to this verse. In the verse that we are reading today, Dhruva Maharaj is making the point that asking the Lord for something perishable is actually an act of foolishness. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, 4 types of pious people come to me. Chaturvida bhajanti mam ye jana rajana artho jigyasur arthati jnani cha arthasama. One is who wants money, the other who is in distress, the third who is inquisitive, and the fourth is a genuine seeker of knowledge. So Krishna says, all these 4 are pious, but of these 4, the most pious are those who have come to me generally to seek knowledge or to render devotional service. So in the material world, everything is perishable. This is what Dhruva Maharaj is stating in this verse, how everything is eventually perishable. Therefore he says, I was so foolish that I asked the Lord for a kingdom which also is perishable. So Dhruva Maharaj is lamenting that he had that desire. Actually, when the Lord offered Dhruva Maharaj all benedictions, any benediction that he may like, Dhruva Maharaj said, my dear Lord, I was a fool. I was looking for broken cut glass, but now I found a diamond. So if you want to give me any benediction, please give me the benediction that I may always remain in the association of devotees and serve you. So this is the benediction that the devotee desires. The opportunity to associate with devotees to execute devotional service. Because devotee knows that everything is perishable. Now Dhruva Maharaj said, I was looking for broken cut glass, but now I have found a diamond. So Krishna consciousness is a diamond, and material life is like broken cut glass. Because what happens when you step on broken cut glass? You cut yourself. So it doesn't matter what type of material benediction you may get. This benediction will not take you back to Godhead. The only benediction that will take you is if you have the opportunity to execute devotional service. So from this we can learn that the only real asset that the only thing that one should pray to the Lord for is the opportunity to engage in devotional service of the Lord, birth after birth. Of course, in the case of Dhruva Maharaj, the Lord knew that even if he gets a kingdom, Dhruva Maharaj would not be affected by the opulence of the kingdom. Therefore, Dhruva Maharaj eventually was given a very opulent kingdom. And Dhruva Maharaj he ruled as the king for 36,000 years. And Dhruva Maharaj, Krishna did give him this kingdom. Why? Because Krishna knew that Dhruva Maharaj would not be affected by the opulence. So in this verse, the Dhruva Maharaj is saying that taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord can immediately cut out the chain of the cycle of birth and death. So the cycle of birth and death is a very painful experience. Therefore, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the 2 characteristics of material existence, one is the kalayam, the other is the shashvatam. One is that everything is temporary, and the other is that there is nothing but misery. So in the material world, everything is difficult. Prabhupada said in a lecture that in the material world, everything is difficult. In the spiritual world, everything is easy. Material world is called Kuntha Loka, and the spiritual world is called Vaikuntha. This is called Kuntha because in the material world, there's nothing but misery and anxiety. And the spiritual world is Vaikuntha, which means there's absolutely no anxiety, no misery. So unless one takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot become free from the cycle of birth and death. One may elevate himself even to the higher planets. One may even go to Brahma Loka. But if one doesn't take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, he cannot become free from the cycle of birth and death. So in the purport, Prabhupada quotes the verse from Rupa Goswami, Anya Bilasita Sunyam Gana Kanvadi Anavrata Manukalena Krishna Salalim Bhaktarutama. This is a very important verse of the Shri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, in which the Rupa Goswami is saying that one should take to the process of devotional service without desiring anything at all. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's another statement, Krishna Bhakta Niskama Ataiva Shanta, Bhakti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakali Ashanta. That the devotees of Lord Shri Krishna, they're always peaceful. Why? Because they're niskama. That means they serve the Lord without expecting anything in return. And in comparison, the other so-called transcendentalists, because they have so many material desires, they are not peaceful. So when we take to the process of devotional service, one should not ask the Lord for material desires. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught us that we should just pray to the Lord for the opportunity to serve birth after birth. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, O son of Maharaj Nanda, I'm an eternal servitor, and some of the other have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please, therefore, pick me up from this ocean of birth and death and fix me at one of the atoms of your lotus feet. So this is our prayer, because it is only the process of pure devotional service that can ultimately give one satisfaction. So when Dhruva Maharaj went back, his father, of course, as I said, was feeling very sorry that due to his being under the influence of Surichi, he prevented Dhruva from sitting on his lap. But when Dhruva went back, his father was very, very happy. And the significant thing is that even though Surichi, the stepmother of Dhruva, had prevented Dhruva from sitting on the father's lap, when Dhruva went back, he even offered her respects. Surichi is the stepmother who had actually prevented Dhruva from sitting on the father's lap. But after having performed as charities and obtained the mercy of the Lord, Dhruva did not have any anger left towards her at all. In fact, Dhruva, when he offered his obeisances to his stepmother, she blessed him and said, "You may live very long." Just like water. Water automatically flows down by nature. So similarly, one who becomes a devotee of the Lord, he automatically gets the respect of everybody in society. A devotee of the Lord does not ask for any respect, but wherever he goes, he automatically gets respect. Therefore, Chanakya Pandit presented a question. He said, who is more famous, a rich man or a devotee of the Lord? And he said that a rich man is just known in his local village, local town, but a devotee of the Lord is known in every corner of the world. Just like you don't know who the rich men in India are, you don't even know who the rich men in Japan are right next to you. But a devotee of the Lord, everybody knows everywhere. Just like you can travel to any corner of the world, everywhere people know Prabhupada now. But if you go to a small village and ask them, do you know who the richest man in India is? Hardly anybody would know it. But if you ask them, do you know who Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder of the Hare Krishna movement is? The chances are you'll meet a lot of people who say they know. Another thing you see is the forgiving character of a devotee. Even though Surichi had prevented Dhruva Maharaj from sitting on his father's lap, Dhruva had absolutely no anger towards her. We also see in the Bhagavatam that Yudhishthira, he had absolutely no anger against Dhritarashtra after the battle of Kurukshetra was over. When the Pandavas were young, and even when they became older, Dhritarashtra and his son Duryodhana tried their best to annihilate them so the kingdom would go to Duryodhana. Rakhe Krishna Mare Krishna Rakhe Ke. Who Krishna wants to protect, no one can annihilate, and who Krishna wants to protect, no one can who Krishna wants to protect, no one can annihilate, and who Krishna wants to annihilate, no one can protect. So Krishna's mercy was on the Pandavas. So even though Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra tried their best to get rid of them, they were always protected. In the battle of Kurukshetra, Dhritarashtra had lost all his sons, grandsons, everyone. Dhritarashtra was left all alone after the battle of Kurukshetra. So, what did Yudhishthira do? Yudhishthira told his uncle, "Uncle, you have no place to stay. Please take this big palace and stay in this big palace very comfortably." And Yudhishthira made an arrangement by which Dhritarashtra and his wife Gandhari could live in complete comfort. In fact, Yudhishthira was so respectful to Dhritarashtra. He gave him such nice facilities that Dhritarashtra began to think that at last I have become a king. So this is the forgiving nature of a Vaishnava. Even if somebody insults you, even if somebody puts you into difficulty, the devotee does not retaliate. Now the devotee, he is very forgiving. He will tolerate even if another Vaishnava insults him. But the Lord does not tolerate such an offense. That is the real thing. Just like Dhruva Maharaj, he forgave Surichi. But because Surichi had committed an offense at the feet of a very exalted Vaishnava, Dhruva Maharaj, she later on had to pay the price for it. Dhruva Maharaj completely forgave Surichi, but because what she had rendered offense was agyata, she had done it innocently, because at that time Surichi did not know that Dhruva is such an exalted devotee, but nevertheless she insulted him. So therefore, in the end, she had to die in a very terrible way. Her son died in the forest, and then she became mad and she died. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has explained that when one is chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one should be very careful in avoiding Vaishnava aparadhs. If you offend devotees, offend the holy name, then that is very, very serious. Therefore, this has been compared to a mad elephant offense. Once when Haridas Thakur was describing the glories of the holy name, there was an individual called Gopāl Chakravarti who doubted the value, the credibility of the holy name. So Gopāl Chakravarti insulted Haridas Thakur. He said, these people are just sentimentalists. They say that the holy name is so powerful and offenseless chanting and take you back to Godhead. Everybody was very angry at Gopāl Chakravarti, but Haridas Thakur was peaceful. And in the end, Gopāl Chakravarti was attacked with leprosy. So, offenses of the Vaishnava, offensive attitude towards the holy name, these are very disturbing. These become great impediments on the path of spiritual advancement. So, in the execution of devotional service, we should make sure that we avoid the 10 offenses. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said, Bhau janma kare yadi shravana kirtana tabutanapaya Krishna pade prema dhana. One may go on chanting the names of Krishna birth after birth, but if one commits offenses, then he will not get the full benefit of the holy name. He will not be able to develop love of God, even though you may chant the holy name birth after birth. Therefore, we chant there are different stages of chanting the holy names of Krishna. The initial stage is when you chant and commit offenses at the same time. Then when you come in contact with devotees, you start living in the temple, you get initiated, you become aware of the philosophy, then you become aware of the 10 offenses, then one should endeavor to minimize these offenses. And then in the last stage, that's the stage of purified chanting. That's the stage when you chant and don't commit any offenses at all. So we should be aware of these offenses. Not that we just recite these offenses every morning and we just memorize them, but actually we have to apply it into practice, all these offenses, and then we'll be able to take full advantage of the chanting of the holy names of Krishna. So Dhruva Maharaj was fixed in austerities. And even for the 36,000 years that Dhruva Maharaj ruled over the planet, he went on performing austerities. Actually, this incident took place in Satya Yuga. Because in Satya Yuga, people used to live for 100,000 years. Our modern day scientists would like us to believe that the lifespan is going up day by day. But actually that is wrong. And even if you were to calculate from a material angle, the way they present the statistics is also wrong. For example, they calculate the lifespan just based on how long a person lives. They don't calculate the number of babies that they kill in the mother's womb. So if they were to calculate how long a person lives, taking into account the number of babies they're killing in the womb, then you will see the lifespan has really gone down very much. From the character displayed by Dhruva, we can also see how determined he was. So without determination, it is difficult to succeed on the spiritual path. Therefore, Rupa Goswami has given us the following guidelines for making spiritual advancement. Saha nishtaya dharya tat kama pravartanat sanga tyage sato vrete. He says one should be enthusiastic. Enthusiasm is a must for spiritual advancement. Yesterday we were talking about enthusiasm in terms of book distribution. But it doesn't matter what service you have, whether you're cooking for the deities or whether you're cooking or running a cafe or whatever, one should be enthusiastic about his devotional service. Then Nishchayat. Nishchayat means determination. And we cited the example of Dhruva Maharaj was determined to find the Lord. So even though Narada Muni was testing him and trying to discourage him, Dhruva Maharaj, because he was determined, he went to the forest, practiced austerities, which eventually captured the mercy of the Lord. So Prabhupada gives the example in the Bhagavad Gita of the bird that had her eggs stolen by the ocean. She asked the ocean to return the eggs. The ocean did not return the eggs. She threatened the ocean that if you don't return my children, I'll dry you up with my small mouth. The ocean laughed and said, try it, see how long you will take. But she was determined. So she started drying up the ocean with a small mouth. News gradually spread to Garuda. And when Garuda heard what a small bird had to undergo, he personally came. Garuda came and threatened the ocean. And then the ocean got scared and returned the children to the bird. So Prabhupada cites this example to show that just like the small bird, she was determined to do something which was from a material angle an impossible goal to achieve. To go and dry up the huge ocean by a small bird is an impossible task. So similarly, even if something is difficult, if we approach it with determination, with the purpose of pleasing Krishna and Guru, Krishna, who's in the heart, will give you the intelligence to do it. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, those who worship me with devotion, I preserve what they have and I make up what they lack. So there's so many things we lack, but Krishna says he makes it up. When Krishna sees, here is somebody who wants to serve me, he's determined to serve me, but these are his shortcomings, Krishna gives the intelligence by which one can execute that activity. So we should be determined to execute the service that we are assigned. We should be determined to chant our rounds attentively. We should be determined to hear the Bhagavatam attentively. We should be determined to execute all aspects of devotional service attentively. Then Dharyat. Dharyat means patience. We must have patience. Not that you come to devotional service and right away you say, now where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Why is Krishna not talking to me? Why can't I personally see him all the time? So patience is necessary. Tat karma pravartanat. We don't concoct the process of self-realization, but we follow the process as enunciated by the great acharyas. Dharmamti sakshat bhagavad pranita. Religion means the words of God. So we accept the teachings of the Lord as they're coming down through the disciplic succession. So our process is follow the parampara and not concoct. Sangatyage. Give up the association of non-devotees. Of course, you can't give up the association of non-devotees completely. Even when you go on book distribution, you have to associate with non-devotees. And some of you may be working or, studying. You have to associate with non-devotees. So the answer is that we associate with non-devotees only to the extent necessary and not more than that. And we associate with non-devotees not to be influenced by them, but to influence them. That means that when you see non-devotees engage in different aspects of the illusory energy, you don't get captured by them, but rather devotees always thinking, how can I influence them? And Sato Vreta, he lives by the scriptures. If we take advantage of these guidelines, then we can execute devotional service. So in the case of Dhruva Maharaj, we see that Dhruva Maharaj was determined and eventually he was able to capture the Lord. Being a Vaishnava, Dhruva Maharaj was forgiving and he even forgot the offense that his stepmother had committed. But the Lord doesn't forgive somebody who offends a Vaishnava. Take, for example, Prahlāda Mahārājā and Hiranyakashipu. Prahlāda tolerated all the insults and offenses of Hiranyakashipu. We all know everything that Hiranyakashipu tried to stop Prahlāda from worshipping Krishna. But did Krishna tolerate it? No. When Krishna saw that now Hiranyakashipu has become so demoniac that now he wants to kill his beloved devotee, Krishna appeared from the column, from the pillar, in a half-man, half-lion form to protect his devotee Prahlāda. and to kill the demon who was ready to kill Prahlāda. And even after having killed Hiranyakashipu, Lord Nrsimha was still so angry. He was so angry that even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma could not go near him. Even Goddess Lakshmi, who always sits at the feet of the Lord, could not go near him because he was in so much anger. Why was he so angry? Because Hiranyakashipu was trying to kill his beloved devotee. So even after he was killed, the Lord's anger continued. And it is only Prahlāda who had the courage to go and garland the Lord, and then his anger at once went away. So in the execution of devotional service, one should be cautious to avoid offenses, especially Vaishnava aparadha. And a devotee on the devotional path, he doesn't want to ask the Lord for anything perishable because he knows all material achievements are perishable. He knows that even if I become a king, I can only stay in this position for some time. Therefore, the devotee prays to the Lord for devotional service. And he feels embarrassed when he asks the Lord for material things. That's our prayer to the Lord, that we may always be engaged in devotional service. And we pray by chanting the holy names of Krishna. When you chant the holy names, you're appealing to the Lord. My dear Lord, please may I be engaged in devotional service. And the more sincerely we chant, the greater will be the reciprocation from the Lord. Hare Krishna.
He's asking, what is the difference? He's asked being determined.
Being determined means that, what's the difference between enthusiastic and determination? Well, enthusiastic means you try hard. Enthusiastic means you're happy to try to do that service. And determined means even if there are some obstacles, you still want to push ahead. So you should be both enthusiastic and determined. Without enthusiasm and determination, you can't succeed on the spiritual path. You see how enthusiastic the materialists are for sense enjoyment? They have been defeated so many times by the illusory energy, but they're still thinking, oh, now this next move is going to give me happiness. So we have to be enthusiastic about serving Krishna. But from Dhruva Maharaj, you can learn how determined he was. You can learn how to be determined.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,